think started. Welcome to my first book haul. Got my bookcase in the back, Jane Austen, books there, my Waterstones bag from yesterday. Okay, so I read 8 books in June. I know it's not finished yet. I'm currently reading Pride and Prejudice. May or may not finish by the end of June. And I'm currently listening to Fahrenheit 451, which I may finish by the end of June. But you know what, it's a Sunday, I wanted to film today. Okay, so the first book I read in June was Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Beautiful cover. Lovely inside as well. So it's about a writer called Casey, who's a waitress, and she kind of finds herself in a love triangle with a big writer called, is it Oliver? It's been a while. Oscar. And this other guy, Silas, who's also a writer, but she meets him at like a book party, I think. I thought it was beautifully written. I absolutely adored it. I flew through it in like 3 days, I think. I really enjoyed the whole bits about waitressing as a former waitress. I thought it was really accurate. And yeah, just really nice read. I'm not going to dawdle on if I don't feel like I need to. Consulting Goodreads for the order. Next, I listened to A Room with a View. I've always wanted to read it. It's set in Florence for the first half. It's about, I can't remember her name now. It's about, oh my god, what is her name? Yes, Lucy. It's about a girl named Lucy, and she goes on holiday with her cousin to Florence. Her cousin's called Charlotte, and she meets all these different kinds of characters, and she ends up getting this thing. Basically, there's a murder, and her and George Emerson, who's this like socialist, low class. It's written in like 1911, I think, so quite ahead of its time. She's quite feminist, and she's like, I want to think for myself and stuff. It's quite nice. And then when she goes back to England, she finds the Emersons are actually living in her village, and it's kind of like how she navigates her feelings towards him, because she wants to hate him, but obviously she doesn't. She loves him. So that was really nice. Just a really easy read. I expected a bit more from it at the end. It all felt a bit easy. And then I Wikipedia'd it afterwards. And apparently E.M. Forster wrote like a follow-up to it, and it's a bit dark, and I wish I hadn't read it. So yeah, don't do that, because it will ruin it for you. Cool, and then next I read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I'm going through all the Jane Austens, currently on my third one with Pride and Prejudice. Got these beautiful editions that I got for my birthday, the Penguin Clothbound Classics. So I'll work my way through Persuasion, Sense and Sensibility and Mansfield Park at some point this year. So this year is the year of Jane Austen and Stephen King, as you'll see. So yeah, Northanger Abbey, set in Bath, where I lived for a long time, 5 years, which is why I was most intrigued to read this one. It's about Catherine Morland, who is absolutely hilarious, and she's one of my favourite heroines ever. Also, look how beautiful this cover is. I've ruined it by reading it because all this pink is coming off. But yeah, it's Catherine Morland. She goes to Bath for 6 weeks, and I just can't get over how horrible everybody is. She's in the society of all these different people, and then she meets Henry Tilney, and she falls in love with him, but she doesn't think that he likes her, and she's just really naive. She kind of has no idea what's going on. She's obsessed with Gothic novels. She kind of sees Gothic novels in everything that she's doing. And I think the fact that everybody that she associated herself with in Bath is so horrible, it just made her seem even better, which I think is partly the reason that I liked her so much. And then basically the first half of the book is set in Bath, which I loved. I loved following it. I had my phone open on Google Maps when I was reading it to like trace the steps. And the second half is set in Northanger Abbey. And obviously a lot of Gothic novels in the late 18th century, early 19th century, focused on abbeys and like the Gothic, and like stuff being scary. She's like obsessed with Anne Radcliffe, and she kind of sees all these things in the abbey just aren't there, and she just imagines all these scenarios aren't happening, and it's just really cute and really funny. So yeah, love that one. Oh, I haven't been giving the ratings actually. Let me go back. Gave 5 out of 5 to Writers and Lovers because it was beautiful and easy and just sweet. There's nothing wrong with it. Remember the review I gave a 4. Looking back, I'd probably give a 3.5 actually. Oh my god, I skipped. I've got in the wrong order. Doesn't matter. Before I read Northanger Abbey, I gave 5 out of 5 for Northanger Abbey. I read Pet Sematary, which is one of my favourite books, I think, now. Yeah. This is a shit copy, and look at this coming off. Obviously shows I've loved it and read it. This is about, set in the 80s, a doctor called Louis Creed moves to Maine, they're always set in Maine with Stephen King, moves to Maine with his family, his 2 kids, so he's got a son named Gage who's 2, and then a daughter Ellie who's 5, I think. So they move into this big house, and their neighbour is called Judd, and he's like an old man, and his wife, Norma, they're really cute. And basically, you know what, it's like a big house, it's kind of like the start of a horror film, basically. And Judd, they find this pet cemetery that's behind their house, and Judd says that this is where people have been burying their pets for the last, like, forever, basically, like the last 200, 300 years. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And then Ellie, his daughter, like, starts thinking about death quite a lot, and she's like, I don't want my cat to die. And his wife is like really averse to death because she lost her sister in like a really horrific way. So it like deals with death really well. It talks about death a lot, but in a really good way, and about grief in a really good way. But then, basically, this is kind of spoilers, but you know, there's a cat on the cover, and you can kind of guess what happens. The cat dies because there's a really big root in front of their house, and basically loads of cats and like animals die there. It's just kind of normal. So he dies, and then things get really fucking weird. They don't bury him in the pet cemetery. There's another cemetery behind the pet cemetery, which is which is very magical, and it was something about the Mayans or something. I don't know. I don't think it's the Mayans. It's the Micmacs. The Micmacs use it as their burial ground, and it's evil, and it's really fucking creepy. And then, yeah, it gets really weird. So this is, I think, my favourite Stephen King book I've ever read. I haven't read that many. I think I've read about 5, and it was a long time ago when I had my phase when I was like 12. So yeah, this is so far my favourite. Then the next book I read is A Tale for the Time Being. Oh shit. This was an audiobook. Absolutely amazing. I picked it up because it was in a 2-for-1 sale on Audible, and I was like, cool, this looks alright. Something to do with Japan. Love myself some Japanese culture. So it's about a woman called Ruth. I think it's semi-autobiographical because it's by Ruth Ozeki, and it's about a woman called Ruth who lives in Whale Town, this little like parish district island in Canada, and she's walking along the beach and she finds this diary that's like all wrapped up, and it's a diary that's in a cover of a French book called À la recherche du perdu by Marcel Proust. I don't know if any of you will understand that, but so it's like In Search of Lost Time, which is the translation, and it's this 16-year-old's diary of her life basically, and it's set in the early 2000s, I think, because she mentions the dot-com bubble and 9/11. So it's basically their 2 lives intertwining, like in parallel, as she's reading the novel, the diary, and then it's really hard to explain, but it deals with philosophy and death and suicide quite a lot, because suicide is really big in Japanese culture. Sadly, it's got to do with like the samurais and how they were taught to kill themselves instead of being taken prisoner, and it deals with World War II. It's just beautiful. Like, it's just a beautiful novel. It was so lovely to listen to. Ruth Ozaki's the one that narrated it. I really like when the authors narrate their own books. I think it just gives it a lot more, not meaning, just works better. It's the wrong word, but anyway. Then the next book I read is Misery by Stephen King. Yep. Look at this beautiful cover. They're the Halloween editions. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. Nothing can live up to the memory of a good scare. Beautiful. Anyway, so this is, I think everybody knows what this is about. It's basically this author called Paul Sheldon, and he crashes his car because he's pissed, and then he gets saved by Annie, who nurses him back to health because she's a former nurse. Then it gets really fucking weird. The first pages are a bit slow because I kind of already knew the premise. I was like, how long, like, why is this almost 400 pages and it's just going to be him in bed and her torturing him? I was like, oh, it's going to be really boring. No, it's not. It goes fucking nuts. I think I did devour the last, like, 250 pages in, like, 2 days. Absolutely. I just don't even have anything else to say about it. Written beautifully. The only thing I don't like with Stephen King books is a lot of references, because obviously this was written in the 80s, this was written in the 80s as well. Just a lot of like pop culture references, I guess. I don't understand them, so that's a bit annoying. And I always Google stuff I don't understand, so it just takes me a lot longer to get through them. But that's just, gave it 4.5 stars just because of the beginning. But yeah, really good. Then the next book that I listen to, I always listen in conjunction. It's not really next, it's just kind of during. It's Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I'm not sure. He's Egyptian. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. What a weird book. No, I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. I wanted to love it. I wanted to love it so much. I fucking adored the film. I cried. I watched it twice and I cried both times. It's absolutely stunning. And I don't know what it is about the book. It just felt really melodramatic. There was a lot of, I want this, I want you, I'm obsessed with you. It was like an internal monologue of desire. But it just felt odd. I wouldn't have personally done it that way. It was written well. It was written really well. And it dealt with things, like certain aspects of it I really liked. I think once, it's kind of a spoiler, not really. They go to Rome. When they go to Rome from then on, it's good because there's actually dialogue and there's actually stuff going on. It's not just his internal monologue, which I had to listen to for like 5 hours. Another issue as well is, I guess, because it was being spoken to me, I just felt, maybe I'm a bit of a prude, but there was a lot of sex and there's a lot of imagining sex. And it was just really graphic and I felt like it didn't need to be, but as a 17-year-old it would be. You would be thinking like that. So, yeah, kind of just really, really dramatic, and it just didn't need to be. And I just, yeah, no. I don't know, I have more to say about it, but that's all I really have to say. Gave it a 2.5, because the ending was quite good, and his dance speech at the end about love, and, I kind of saved a few extracts of it. It was really nice, but I don't think I'd ever read anything by him again, because it's kind of put me off. Maybe I just don't like his writing and the way he writes emotions. They're just a bit too intense for me. One point he just says, I want him in a wheelchair so he's close to me. So I kind of get it. It's meant to be dramatic because he's obsessed with him, but it just fell flat. So not for me. Anyway, the final book I read, it's not really final because I'm still reading, but as of today, finished this on Friday night, was Summer Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I've never read anything by him before. Basically, I was obsessed with this cover. Look at it. Beautiful. And then there's another book that I want by him. Just look at the inside of this, guys. Guys, I know only Ellie and Emma will watch this. If you might actually just skip it. So, just really beautiful. So it's about this woman called Patricia Campbell. Starts in 1988, and what I love about this book, actually, the only thing, well, it's not the only thing I like, but the sections are split by the books that they're reading in book club, and then it's got the date. So there's a lot of skipping, so it starts in 1988, skips to 1993, then skips, and it ends in 1997. So that's like a 9-year span. Basically, it's about this woman, Patricia Campbell. She's in the book club. She's in an original book club, and then the book club's too rigid, she just doesn't enjoy it, and then the women are like, nah, we're going to do our own book club, and we're going to read true crime books, which is really fun, really good idea. Then a new guy moves into town, you're like, right, this is the vampire, it has to be a vampire. You guys move into town, a bit shifty, it's got a wad of cash, all the weird stuff starts happening. So then I was really intrigued, so I literally flew through it, and I was like, there was so much missing. There were so many random strands of the story that just weren't being addressed. Her son gets obsessed with Nazis and the Holocaust. The last 3 years, nothing happens with that. Why did this happen? Nothing. Her daughter, I won't go into it because then this is a spoiler, but The only thing I think it did really well was talking about like housewives' struggle to find their own identity. Like, what do? Like, they clean, they do all this stuff, and they do have a purpose, but they're so undervalued. And it really dealt with the sexism well. I felt the story would end worse because it was like it ends in blood. And then I was like, did it really end in blood? There was never a confirmation he was a vampire. It was just, he was a weird vampire. He had like a thing coming out of his mouth. I was like, why did he prey on children? That wasn't explained either. Like, I don't know. I felt like, and like there's references to Dracula, so he was obviously inspired by Dracula, but then as I've read Dracula, I was like, that was the OG of the genre, so why haven't you just kind of reimagined? Like, in Dracula, he's confirmed to be a vampire. Why don't you confirm that he was a vampire? You know? So, it was good. It was written well. And I really want to read My Best Friend's Exorcism because the cover for that looks amazing. So I will be buying it. Hasn't put me off. But this could have been a lot better, and they could have dealt with the book club aspect a bit more. Because, yeah, the women who are chasing him are the book club, but it's mainly Patricia for a lot of it. So the book club's kind of irrelevant. That's just all I'm going to say about it. There you go. That was the last physical copy I read. And I'm currently reading Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I've never read it before. About an hour and a bit in. Good so far. Not really what I expected. I don't think it would be dystopian because I didn't really know anything about it before I started reading it, listening to it. Really like the narrator as well. So, yeah, that's my wrap up. And then I'm going to move to a haul now as well. So Audible had a sale on all week, so I bought a lot of books, bought a lot of audiobooks. So I got My Sister, you can't actually read it, My Sister, The Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I've always wanted to read this. I think it was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction last year or the year before. And I think it's about, it's pretty self-explanatory. Her sister kills all her boyfriends. And I think she kind of helps her deal with the bodies. Not sure. So probably read that next. Got The Diary of a Bookseller as well by Sean Bythell. Just seems like a sweet read. It's like a guy who owns a bookshop in Scotland and kind of the characters come through. When I went to Waterstones yesterday, picked up a copy. It looks really cute. I think it's like a diary form. Don't know what it's going to be like on audio actually when I saw it, and I was like, it's going to be a bit confusing, but we'll see. Got The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. This is meant to be really depressing, meant to be a classic of black literature, so won the Pulitzer Prize. So I'm really excited to read this, listen to it. So yeah, we'll see. Got quite a few bits. I was gonna get some classics as well, but I think I've had a bit saturated on them at the minute. And then got my beautiful Waterstones bag in the background. Isn't it lovely? Here is my haul. Buzzing. Right, so the first book I got was from Costco actually, it wasn't from Waterstones, and it is this beauty, Classic Tales of Horror. Look at those gravestones, shiny, leather bound. I don't think it's real leather. Look at that cool moon, it's got some like purple undertones, gold pages, and it's basically what it says on the tin. Classic Tales of Horror. Look at this inside page. It's basically got everything you would ever want. Edgar Allan Poe, Bram Stoker, Dracula's Guest. Follow up to Dracula. Didn't even realise that existed. Faneuil Hawthorne, got a few French ones in there. Honoré Balzac, Franz Kafka, The Metamorphosis. That's annoying. I actually already have that. Doesn't matter. Got a few Arthur Conan Doyle's in there. Yeah, just looks really good. Really good. I wanted illustrations in there, that's the only thing. Like, look at the sound. So yeah, buzzing. This is just, I've got it on my bedside table. I think it's a bedside table book. Well, I'll just kind of dip in and out with it for like ages. That made no sense. I'd like to dip into it whenever I want a little horror fix. So yeah, buzzing about that one. Then Waterstones had I had £10 off because I finally spent £100 on Waterstones, so you get £10 off. And then I got a buy one get one half price deal on all of these. So, just got an email. That's all right. First one I got is The Familiars by Stacey Halls. So this is all about the Pendle witch trials set in 1612 in Lancashire. Basically, this lady of a manor can't get pregnant, and she meets this witch person, midwife, called Alice Gray, and she promises to give her a healthy baby. But then Alice is accused of witchcraft, and then it all kind of delves into like the witchcraft trials, which I feel like we always hear about sailing, but we don't hear about the Pendle ones. At least I don't. And the cover's beautiful. And I think she's just released the second one called The Foundling. So I wanted to read this for a long time, so I got it. Next one I got is Circe by Madeline Miller. I think everybody has read this. Everybody's obsessed with it. I've got The Song of Achilles, which is on my to be read. It is on my bedside table, so I think I'll either read it after Pride and Prejudice. But then there's another one in here that I think I want to read after Pride and Prejudice, so we'll see. Don't know anything about Greek mythology either, but this is about witchcraft, and I was like, I think I'm gonna like it. It's basically Circe is a witch. She's not, I don't know. She's got a dark power of her own, witchcraft. When Circe's gaze threatens the gods, she is banished to the island of Aiaia, where she hones her occult craft, casting spells, gathering strange herbs, and taming wild beasts. So yeah, right on my street, buzz in. The third book I got is a recommendation from my mum called Machines Like Me by Ian McEwan. She originally sent this to me and I was like, that sounds really fucking weird. It's like a 3-way relationship with a robot. So, set in the 1980s, London, an alternative 1980s. Britain has lost the Falklands War, Thatcher battles for power, and Alan Turing achieves a breakthrough in artificial intelligence. So yeah, I think it's this guy who buys Adam, which is a synthetic human, and then a love triangle forms with his girlfriend. Then it just gets a bit weird. I didn't really want to buy this. I'm not really into dystopian stuff, like alternative realities. But I thought it's a pretty cover, and it could be fun. So, and I've never read Ian McEwan, and I've always wanted to. I can't believe I haven't read Atonement, so buzz it. And the last book I got is the Pulitzer Prize winner called The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. He wrote The Underground Railroad, which is set in the slave times, and just personal preference, I've read quite a lot of slavery books, and I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to this time. But this is set in 1980s civil rights America, and it sounds just amazing. And you know, Barack Obama said it was a necessary read. I've always wanted to read Colson Whitehead. His writing's obviously amazing because he's winning the Pulitzer Prize. I think he's won it twice. Yeah, double Pulitzer winner, which I don't think has ever happened. So excited to read this. I think I'll read this next. We'll see. I think that's everything. Yeah, really enjoyed doing that. How have I listened to the sound of my own voice for 23 minutes? But yeah, cool. Bye.